Enough. Enough is enough. Enough is enough, enough, enough. Enough. Let this be said, heard. Lenny Harry. This conversation will be done, ended, A. So everyone understands what's going on here. Our buddy Lenny here has been, I don't even know what to call it, gay harassing me in emails about this debate of veganism. Here's what it is. Lenny, let's get one. Going to down badly. One, you pose no facts ever. And two, gave me three of the ways to bunk your claim better. Ready? Let's do this. Okay. So, guys, get ready. I have a lot of tabs open, so I'm working smart right now. So here we go. One of the main things I wanted Lenny to understand in this fun game we're going to start playing is that a private email debate is gay. I'm not sure if you noticed it or not, Lenny, but I live stream, and I live stream for a reason. That reason being, I want nothing to do with typing endless banter. That's why I don't sit in the chat. That's why I don't sit in other people's chats all the time. But here we go. Yes, and also, the people, just like you love to troll people in my chat, the people love when a troll gets torn down to pieces. Here we go. Go ahead and share what we're speaking on at the moment. You guys can deal with on a regular basis. I don't know if it's no, okay, it's not. So we'll do. You will see the crap I got to deal with on a regular basis. There we go. So our buddy Lenny in the email. Part is all right. So been in the chat doing this whole shout out to vegan. So here you go. He wrote me first off some email some, come on, man. You are being a flat earther toward veganism. It addresses one, ethics, health, the environment. Let's do this privately via email. Long time period. This is a red or blue. No bullshit, but fucking shit. Fucking cold, hard reality. It's okay. Indoctrinated, it's okay. Ignorant, it's okay. I am here for you. Let's talk. Let's take this. Take those baby steps. I got you. In love, Harry. Okay. For one, Lenny, and so everyone knows, that was August for um I'm going to actually take this brief moment to shut Lenny up. So, we're going to go on of ethics. First of all, I want to go ethics. Let's start off with, you do understand that cows are man made. It's basically man made. Genetically, you crossbreed animal. Type of bison and blah blah blah. To the point now where we get Lenny. I wouldn't do that. You'll just have to listen from the sideline, buddy. Um, There's no natural cow. I mean, say bison and all this other good stuff, but again, remember, cows are genetically made so we can feed off them. Now you want to talk ethics, then we're going to really talk about this. Yes, you are 100% right. The slaughter of cows is wrong, period. That's all there is to it. Now, for a very good long time, I only ate game meat that was hunted. I'm not going to lie, past year, I've kind of cheated a little bit. But for the most part, I still do have friends that will give me meat. So I do still eat game meat for the most part. But ethically, you need to understand, Lenny, how many millions of animals are uprooted and killed for farming, crop farming to be exact. Not only is crop farming an issue, but what it takes to get that deforestation. You do understand what deforestation is, right, Lenny? So, Lenny, you understand that when people tell you that all those animals are killed during the farming of your vegetables, yeah, it's nothing, small grade. Well, guess what? To get that farm, natural land had to be demolished, which kind of demolishes your ethics and environment argument. Now, let's go to the health. You understand what a nomad is, right, Lenny? You kind of seem like one. Now, whether you believe evolution, you don't, doesn't matter. We were nomads. We did not have a set place we lived when we first started thinking, I guess you would say. And in that time, there was hunting was the primary food eaten beside foraging for food vegetables that were growing off stuff that they were able to eat. Now, again, let's talk real realistically, right? That's how. Now, I do agree. At some point in time, stopped being nomads, and they decided to start farming, making vegetables and crops. And here's the thing: depending on where you live, you may not be able to have crops for half a year. So then you would have to hunt. So what ends up happening is people that settled would end up settling in places they figured there'd be the most meat. They started their farming. The meat kept the family alive. Crops were the in-betweens, if they don't hunt and find something. But the reality of it is, Lenny, that our bodies are designed to eat both. Because I do not advocate for only eating meat. I advocate for a balanced diet, which ethically the right argument to have, Lenny. So with that said, I think I pretty much crushed it, but I'm going to show you guys some other things. one of the things I wanted to show is this. And it happened to be in my wheelhouse, so it was like, oh, this is a no-brainer. Definitely gonna use this. Oh, bam. Green. What we are looking at right now is a list of environmental things that are causing greenhouse gases. Basically, climate change. I know some of you don't believe that stuff. They and them. I don't think he will, but I'm gonna shout out to everyone in a second. I just wanted to crush Lenny really quick. So let's go over this list real quick. Stop where we. So I can explain to Lenny how crops are an issue. Okay, so obviously, you know, blah blah blah. Got some other good stuff. Reduced food waste. What does that mean? Now, I know we're gonna go to the next one. Reduce food waste. So what ends up happening is when the crops are harvested, they have to be transported to their destinations to be bought. During that time, an extreme amount is wasted. Upwards around 30%, I think it was, of all each crop is wasted in between from harvest to transport. Now understand that everything that caused greenhouse gases in that time was a waste of fuel, because just like in construction, moving dirt, you have a cost efficient attitude about things. You want to be able to do things efficiently and cost effectively, which means basically any fruit or vegetable that is not made, doesn't make it to market, and does not get bought, end up going to waste, is a waste of those vegetables in the farming industry. What you're saying, Lenny, is that everyone should go vegan, and that would also mean this: tons and tons of more deforestation to make room to actually be able to support the world, or even if you're talking the United States, vegetables only. There's not enough land to do so, which is also why a balanced diet is key. Remember that, Lenny. I see you in the chat, but I'm not really reading right now because I'm in the middle of crushing you. Now, it does say a plant-rich diet. Now, a plant-rich diet does not mean go vegan or vegetarian. It literally means what I've been saying: a balanced diet. Not just meat, not just vegetables, a balanced diet. Therefore, not so much doesn't go to waste. Because a lot of people do eat a lot of meat and no vegetables. So that does add to the waste that's in the grocery store. So a balanced diet would help in that aspect. See. Rejuvenative agriculture. So basically, now we're talking lab grown food. And yes, they are talking food or crops and meat in the lab, which I am completely against, because that's when they're able to start doing funny stuff. This here. Yeah, so on that list, that's pretty much it. So, and then I'll bring up this one because this was my fun, the one I thought I was gonna have fun with, and this is the links that my sources. So, and I picked some of those hippies. I also picked. So you see, so I want to make it clear. Went to a website. I asked, what are the causes of global warming? Well, the top one is obviously burning fossil fuels, which you do transporting your vegetables, but also deforestation. But what is that deforestation for? Ask. Well, that's for for the main part, farming. It says, but humans clear vast areas of vegetation around the world for farming. Urban infrastructure development are also sell tree products as timber and. Damn. Not only does veganism pollute. I know that was kind of nonsense. My bad. Not, but not only, but I'm gonna do it anyway. Vegan causes a lot of global warming, but it also kills and destroys nature's land. That's environment. So let's see what you're saying, because God, your argument already sucks. He says, number one, do you admit animals are are sentient, and do you admit they desire life? No. Okay. No. First of all, there's nothing that shows any data or evidence that animals are aware of themselves, so to speak, especially cows. So, I mean, we're not killing fucking dolphins, or we're not Chinese and shit. Yeah, cows on this meat argument, no, they're not sentinel. They do not. They're not aware of themselves. Number two, he says health. You, you fuckwit. Why are you moving on to environment already? Because that's how quick and easy crushing your dreams are. He says number two again is health. Fuck Muppet, not environment. I don't have to go in order, Lenny. Relax, buddy. He says number two, have you looked at the WHO warning regarding meat, Sean? Red meat is classed as a carcinogen. Okay. Again, a balanced diet is my argument, Lenny. I'm not saying go out and eat 20 pounds of fucking meat a day. And if you know someone who is, tell them to stop. He says, this is so weak. It's like you haven't even done your work. No, see, that's the thing, Lenny. I've actually had this argument. Anyone from the debate Flat Earth and more, and know who Brummy is, knows this. Lenny, I've had this argument so many times. It's that easy to destroy your argument. Now, actually come with some facts in that chat. Otherwise, I'm going to not read them. I have to say. Let's go to the next one now. All right. Agriculture, deforestation, and other land use account for roughly 20% of greenhouse emissions. That's a problem. Get down in here. What am I looking for? Oh, pros and cons. Unfortunately, climate change negatives for agriculture. I didn't like this site. Say anything about that? Yeah, that's how fast and easy this was. Evidence for meat eating by early humans. So, Lenny, I'll put chat for you so you can do some research your damn self. And so everyone realizes, I am trying to get this possible. Is veganism a natural option? No, it's not. Okay, see? Here. All this for you, Lenny. So we're done having this vegan chat. I've already shown you enough evidence. It's compared to your zero evidence. Deforestation. Agriculture causes 80% of tropical deforestation. Agriculture is a direct driver of roughly 80% of the tropical deforestation, while logging, biggest single driver of forestation, says new report from British happening. Okay, so then we go to here. Then it shows here. Farming, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, there you go, Lenny. Whew. I got that really quick. No, I'm tired of that argument. Lenny, if you want to actually start using some facts, let's do this. But again, your emails, the reason I did this is to show you how ridiculous this argument is. You literally have shown no evidence or presented any source of data for your argument. I have shown you stuff, therefore I win. Have a nice day. Guys, give me half a second. I'm going to go ahead and change the title now. And that way we can get done with the Lenny project. Who said veganism was natural? I didn't say it was natural, Lenny. What are you talking about, man? Relax. All right. We're just going to change the title to open topic, open panel. Lenny, your 15 minutes is up. Back to trolling the chat. There you go. Good at that, buddy. Again, Lenny, if you ever do want a shot, maybe you should come with some evidence for your claim before you start just talking random shit. Kind of weird that. All right, back to what I was doing. Live stream was one. Okay, so here we go. Let me get the panel up, and if you guys have questions, you guys can ask me panel. During the fucking when the hangout is started up. I had to get that out, guys. I apologize. Stalks me. about this for a fact. I had to just now let me get to the chat because I got shouted anyone out. And that's how important it was to me to get this done. Was I just didn't want to hear him say, "Why won't you answer to this anymore?" So I'm gonna go ahead and I'll put the link in the chat. And then I'll do the shout outs in the chat. If you join the meetup, let me finish the shout outs real quick and then we'll continue on with this festive game of cat and mouse. All right. Again, I apologize for not shouting you guys out. I just wanted to get through this. If I don't say your name, I'm sorry. This list is long, and Lenny spammed it a few times. So, again, I'm sorry. What's up? What's up, Big Blue? Bearded Devil in the house. What's up, Travis? Travis, you're not gonna like this one. We're gonna go over that mountain observations we were making about the salt flats. I did hear about you doing it on there. I did get your link to your hangout, so you weren't talking out of place. You weren't, leaving me out, so no one knows that. No one thinks that. But I had some things I had to take care of, so I wasn't able to. What's Lenny? Go away. What's up, Shane? You're in here now. How you doing? Oh, shout out to Shane's channel. What's up, Grizz? What's up, John? Hey, Amy. Hang on, guys. Aaron's here. God damn it. What's up? Yeah, dang, them's here. Hey, Hannah. What's up, John? And if I didn't say your name, I'm sorry. I can't do this. Oh. Hang on, no one can hear you. Yeah, all right, there you go.
I just want to let you know that I'm in a mood, so I'm sorry in advance.
Okay, so this is gonna be fun. All right, we can do open topic and then move into the why Travis is wrong, or we can just go into why Travis is wrong all over again. The only difference would be that if we go over why Travis is wrong, we're just gonna recap the end of yesterday's stream.
What I find interesting is why do these wrong people, or these people that are always wrong, so utterly convinced that they're right, and they're not even providing any support to their evidence, like to their statement? That's the craziest thing to me lately. What's that about? It happened to me today.
It's their ego. The ego goes, I got this. I know this. I cannot
they can't
be
even
wrong.
Spell the word "your" correctly. Like "you are" has an apostrophe in it, homeboys.
That doesn't matter because I do that shit. I don't care. But put it this way: you
don't do it on purpose, do you?
Oh yeah, I know.
You know the difference?
No. Well, I do, but I don't care.
Okay.
And when I'm typing, and I said this when I was talking about the Lenny email debate, I really do hate typing, like really bad. Like you guys don't even understand how bad I hate typing.
But let me ask you this, Sean. If you're going to tell somebody that they're a moron and you're going to drive that point home, do you think it bodes well for you to do that when you misspell the word "your"?
Why is that a big deal?
I don't know, because if I'm okay,
the irony is palpable.
Right. If I'm going to tell you that I'm smarter than you in not so many words by saying "you're an idiot," and I'm using the possessive form of "your," then the whole statement it's laughable. It's ironic. It's like, dude, if you want to be smarter than me, then fucking act like it. That's all.
It's like saying you dumb am.
Well, I would still say that. That's what's wrong with that?
Okay.
You dumb head.
I got a question. Okay, here's the problem though.
I love it.
So, in a situation where, we'll just say for shits and giggles, 36 people are chatting in the chat, and you're having an argument with someone, and someone else is having an argument with that same person, and vice versa, and you have to be quick to type. I am not a quick typer. I don't like typing. It's not fun. Therefore, I don't proofread it. I type like I talk. Okay, that's exactly what it is. And I'm sorry.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
If I don't have time to put that apostrophe, fuck y'all.
No, whatever, dude. You don't speak unintelligently, Sean. You don't speak unintelligently, okay?
Yeah, but when I type, I obviously think and talk faster than I type. Therefore, that's how I type.
Well, Sean, here's the deal.
Wait, Unpaid, 1 second.
Okay,
This
go ahead.
comment came to me in a comment that wasn't a live stream. It was something he was typing out on his keyboard. If you don't want to type out a comment, just don't do it. Anyway,
I agree. That's. I think I'll start using it now, just because that was actually correct. If I don't want to type correctly, then don't type at all.
There you go.
All right, guys.
Now I understand.
Sorry, never typing again. Go ahead, Unpaid.
Okay. There's a time for formalities. There's a time to be casual. Amongst my friends, I really don't care so much if they're typing you are the letters for you are. To me, is an ancient Sumerian city, but okay, I could overlook that.
LOL.
It's casual. Those are lollers. When they're using lol for punctuation, I can overlook that if it's casual situation amongst friends. But I've been in a situation where I hired and fired. And if someone made gross spelling errors and gross grammatical errors repeatedly, so they couldn't say, oh, that was just a typo, and they were equally qualified for the job as someone else, they wouldn't get the job. Because communication today in a business setting needs to be precise and focused and to the point. And if someone can't communicate effectively, they're not performing to their fullest extent. So in that formal situation, yes, grammar and spelling counts. But in casual, yeah, not so much.
I don't know. For me, it's that if you're going to call me an idiot, you better use the fucking contraction. That's all I'm saying.
Wow, that was riveting, guys. Travis, your turn. Travis, do it. We will not move. The stream will not move along until you've done your thing. Do it. I'm serious, Travis. I'm not fucking playing, Travis. Travis.
Yeah. I had a phone call come up right now, so sorry.
Are you gonna chat or what? Phone call or chat? Phone call or chat? Phone call or chat?
Travis,
I
you haven't done it yet.
Call.
No, there's something you need to do.
Haven't done what? Oh.
Thank you. All right, guys. Now we can start. I'm sorry about the whole Lenny crisis. I'm not. None of you guys are vegans, right?
Well, occasionally I will give up meat for certain periods of time, but mostly because I think about how I'm eating an animal and it kind of grosses me out. But I always go back.
I have no compunction eating animals. I have no compunction eating raw flesh. I don't have any problems at all. However, there are times for short periods I will go vegetarian, just for my own personal stuff.
So the moral of that story is don't visit unpaid shills and drink.
Yeah, that's true.
Bacon is life.
Bacon. Wait, god damn it! Don't say bacon, because then
bacon rules.
I know this is not going to be popular, but like bacon. When it comes to food, there's about 15 foods, if that I don't like. So I like it all. Going vegetarian or vegan or whatever doesn't bother me at all because I love vegetables. So I don't really have a preference. I don't care either way. But Lenny has a very apparent vested interest in not eating animals for some reason, even to the point where he compared you eating animals to babies because babies are also not sentient. Like, who does that?
What?
I have a feeling that Lenny's not even a vegan. That's how ridiculous this is.
Well, if someone wants to be vegetarian or vegan or whatever, that's their own business. And if they want to do it, great. More power to you. Reach for the stars. But
less power because you don't have as much energy eating vegetables. Anyway, continue.
If they're going to try to dictate how I live my life, I'm going to start having a problem with that because their right to swing their arm ends at the tip of my nose.
Wait a minute. This is a great topic. Just like it's totally unrelated to all the bullshit that goes on the internet. But like, okay, food and who you love. Being gay and food, they fall into a specific category in my mind in terms of debate. It's not your business what I eat. It's not your business how I eat it. It's not your business who I love. It's not your business how I love them. If I want to
But-
eat my steak cooked all the way through, I get to cook. I get to eat my steak cooked all the way through. You want to eat it with that? It's mostly like you just cut it off the cow. That's on you. Stop making people feel bad about the way they fucking eat or the way they fucking love.
You got it. But what about gay food?
What's gay
Bring it on.
food?
Gay food, I don't care. I don't care.
Is that like angel cake or something?
Bring it on.
I would think it'd be, probably something healthy because most gay people are in much better shape than me.
I'm drink every so often I go to the store and get a very fruity kind of malt beverage, and yeah, I feel a little bit gay, but I'm not ashamed of it.
Hey, there you go. Embrace your inner gay taste buds.
Hello, big boy.
Damn, I got on the wrong channel.
What the hell just happened?
By nature, we are
I told you.
omnivores anyway.
I told you I was in a mood.
Yeah. Well, see, that's the thing, and that's why I like when someone comes at me with the whole vegan argument, because they are literally going at you with everyone should be vegans. In reality, I'm an omnivore. I think we should have a balanced diet so that way we don't die from various diseases and what do you call it, infections you can get from either or. And then you go into the crop side of everything. You got to understand the fact that everything is so genetically modified now. How, like, you say they're healthy, Lenny, but I mean, can you show me some data that says they're actually healthy
Sean.
now?
Hold on. I
I
can.
have some information.
Halal beef. Have you all heard of halal beef?
No. What the
Yeah, they
hell
still
is
kill
that?
it. They still kill the damn thing.
Halal butchers, and I think this is true with kosher, but the Islam religion requires that you treat your animal like a king on the last day. That way you're not releasing stress hormones into their body. You give them, you pamper them. Basically, you treat them like you give them the best day of their life before you kill them, and it's humane. And I've been meaning to try it because I hear it tastes better.
Hang on. Shane, I have an argument against that entire premise of halal meat. Oh, you're such a nice animal. You're so nice. And then they slit their throat.
Yeah, I'm going to say
The contrast is you treat these animals with pure disdain and like they're just subjects, and you slaughter them in the middle of the day. There's a difference.
Well, here's the issue, though.
I actually know quite a few farmers that have cows, and they do not treat them like that at all.
I'm not going to be able to argue that with you completely because I really honestly don't have all the facts. I don't have all the facts. I'll admit that right now.
That's very honest of you. I wish Lenny would have done that.
Yeah, very.
I personally have worked in abattoirs and killed any type of animal that food I've eaten. I have also hunted and killed. There are differences, and halal is slightly different from that. It's the main priority is that you actually have to say a blessing over the animal to thank it for its life before you dispatch it.
And point its head towards Mecca as you Bismillah and dispatch.
As a hunter, how I respect the animal is I practice. I get good at aiming. I don't take shots that I don't feel comfortable making, and I make sure it's one bullet that does the job right away. That's how I respect an animal. If you don't think that is how you do it, then I don't know how else to ever do it.
I respect an animal with A1 sauce.
I hunt all my meat.
No, wait. You've never been to Texas, have you? Don't ever put A1 sauce on the meat there. Don't.
Okay. Tell me how I'm gonna eat my food again.
Hang on.
Yeah,
Blue,
I'm telling you how to survive.
What?
Blue, what you got?
I was just going to say, I hunt all my food at Kroger's.
See,
me too, Big Blue, me too. Fucking Kroger has the deal.
Yeah, and I guarantee you it's humane.
My thing with veganism is we are omnivores. We are designed to eat a certain amount of meat. We have the teeth for it. We have the chemistry in our digestive system for it. Bile exists to break down proteins and fats. Our liver produces a lot of bile.
I just agree with Ron White. My ancestors didn't climb to the top of the food chain so I could eat fucking bean sprouts.
Hey, but Big Blue, I love bean sprouts. What's wrong with bean sprouts?
Okay,
They go well as long as you got a fillet next to them.
If they're a side of something, yeah.
I spent 9 years working in the produce department for a large supermarket chain in the dispatch department. Now, certain diseases that come from vegetables are only found in vegetables, and some of these include flesh-eating viruses.
Such as?
Oh, they can't classify them. You know why?
Because they don't exist?
No, because it's down to the preparation of the vegetable by the person. Will depend on which type of disease you will get. If you don't take care of your vegetables properly, you will get sick. And what happens is you get cross-contamination and you can die. And sometimes it creates flesh-eating viruses.
Isn't that pretty much true of any
That's the same with meat.
Though?
It's the same thing with meat.
Exactly.
But it's the fact that both types of food have the same inherent problems. If they're not treated correctly, you will get sick.
That's why I treat all my food equally. I take a gun to it and take care of it that way.
A 22 to a head of lettuce, man. No better way to kill it.
Well, but you also got to watch out for insects in vegetables too.
Here's the thing about
that's why
about
shipping
eating
bananas
food, right?
from freaking South America and all those weird spiders that live in them.
Look, the only difference between somebody who has a moral conscience about eating animals and somebody that doesn't is that somebody had a thought that maybe animals, because they're empathetic, have some sort of emotional attachment to life and sentient quality. But we're animals. If you break it right on down, like, here's my point. Last night I was drinking some wine, and I know that I got a fucking fruit fly in my mouth because it was dark. I couldn't tell, but I had something. And I spit it out, and I'm like, later on, I was trying to convince myself, because guys, bugs, I really hate bugs. But I was like, ultimately, aren't I just an animal? And if I ate that fruit fly, wouldn't I be fine? We're just animals, people. And just so happens that human beings developed a little bit more in the brain area, and we got a moral conscience to where we could actually decide. Because if you look at the animal kingdom, not a single one of those motherfuckers thinks twice before attacking the other animal that they consider dinner, right? Right.
Exactly.
Yep.
Now, hey, Lenny, just for the sake of argument in your whole and you are, you should have been thinking about whether or not that fruit fly landed on some fresh or not fresh shit.
All right, don't call me Lenny, man.
My bad. He angers me. That's what I was thinking about.
See,
fair enough.
And I've been in situations. I've been doing survival camping.
Yep. Me too.
I'd go up into the mountains in Montana, stay out for 2 months at a whack, and I ran across some carrion, a dead deer, and it was reasonably fresh. So I took a knife to it. I cut away the bits that were nasty, and I got me some decent deer meat, and I ate it. And it was okay.
I've eaten a few.
And hey, Sean, did you notice that the only part of the problem I had with your statement is that you called me Lenny?
Yeah, no. But I can see how that'd be worse than a fly on shit.
A fly landed on some shit, Lenny. Don't call me Lenny.
Sean, you eating bacon?
My favorite part is
fruit flies don't really. Yeah, they'll go for decomp, and yeah, they could have been landed in the sink drain, but like they tend to go for fruit and wine. So I'm okay. I think.
Pretty sure a fly will land on anything.
Not a fruit fly.
Time flies like an arrow, and fruit flies like a banana.
Boom. Nice.
Okay, hang on. One sec. So, Lenny, I will address you this last time. I took your wrench because you kept saying rape and murder, something. So, yeah, I'm giving people the option to not have to listen to your fucking trolly attitude. And also, just because you have more subs to me doesn't make you anybody. I don't think anyone here knows who the fuck you are. So
yeah, stop it. Like, if you can't make an argument without just addressing the argument, then fuck off. I'm sick of you people. Make your fucking argument based on the facts instead of attacking people and using stupid scare and horror, like, what do you call it? Terrorism tactics, like oh, you eat fucking babies or blah blah blah. Stop it.
Well,
the
the
word
funny
rape
part-
shouldn't even come up in this argument.
For the funny part is if you go back in the chat, I guarantee you there is not one bit of evidence for his argument still.
Of course not. None of these guys that want to fight against it ever produce any actual evidence ever.
Well, the thing is that if it came down to a survival tactic, if you're going to eat something, you're going to be meat because you don't have time to farm.
Hey, Sean.
Exactly. What's up?
Sean Smith.
Oh,
sir.
What do you got? What are you holding in your hands in your avatar there?
That is a guitar.
I know what it is. What brand, dude? Jesus.
Oh, it is just a little Carlo Robelli.
All right. I build guitars. Don't insult my intelligence.
I wasn't installing your intelligence. I just didn't know if you could see it.
I know. I'm just fucking with you. No, but I know. I get it.
Do you really
Sorry, I'm
build
just fucking with you. Yes, I do.
You don't build just ukuleles or anything?
I think a ukulele would be harder to build than an electric guitar, honestly.
Okay, maybe you know what you're talking about. I don't know. I've never built either.
I have 2 guitars I've already built and put together, and one I'm about to start paying. But yeah, I build electrics, not acoustics. Acoustics, that's a whole different animal. But I'm a musician, and I just noticed Sean was holding a guitar, so I wanted to ask him, and I'm just fucking with you, Sean Smith. I know you didn't say anything.
Wait. Does that mean like you're like the easy way out guitar maker? Like you didn't do the harder ones? You were like slap these together, let the electricity do the rest?
What are you trying
the
to say,
red,
bro?
like the red special?
Dude, I don't even know how it works the guitar except for the strings and a pick.
Yeah.
So
I'm an easy way out guitarist. I tell you what, Sanji, you go make a guitar neck and a body, and you tell me. But yeah, you're right. Otherwise, I mean, like if you simplify it down, yes, I'm an easy way out guitarist.
I'm gonna be an asshole to you only because of the your and you are shit. Okay, that's what's happening right now.
Go ahead, dude.
Yeah, I wouldn't have a shop big enough to build acoustic guitars.
Be an asshole. What do you mean be an asshole to me, Sean G?
I'm just saying, man. Guitar Hero is sufficient enough.
Yeah, well, Blue's got you all beat.
Being an asshole. So there you go.
Blue's got you all beat. He's got a mule that plays banjo.
That fucking mule, man. That's awesome. I love Blue's shit. I love Blue's video.
The guitar. Or the banjo. And both. All the above.
The git fiddle.
Hey, Blue, are you going to defend yourself? They're calling you seriously old.
I know. I just let him go.
It's all right.
Because in the end, he'll have the last laugh.
Yeah, but he doesn't deny the truth.
You guys have no proof of how old Blue is. You have no proof.
I've seen him.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I look a lot younger than I am, so what now?
Me and Blue
I
are in the same
haven't
age
seen you,
group.
so I can't make that determination.
And Blue has done so many drugs, he should not be alive right now.
That's
No
right.
offense. I'm just saying,
I mean, come on, he
people
talks
that
to a
look
mule.
really old, that's not good. But that's not you. You're old and old.
Well, he's been sitting on these panels for long enough. He better be doing a lot of drugs.
You have to cope.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
How many times did I tell Lenny to shut the fuck up anyway?
I saw 6.
That was it?
Yeah, that was until I come in here, so I haven't seen the chat since.
Oh, I haven't gone back to the chat. I don't know, man.
There was the one. There was the one where you copied his 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3, and you went shut the fuck up.
Here's the thing about that. I get mad at people like him, and not because, listen, I am all about free speech. I'm all about, hey, you don't have the same opinion as me? Cool. If you can talk about your side of the argument with facts and data and even your feelings about it, I am open. I will never insult you. I will listen.
Oh, Shane. Oh,
Yeah.
no. You have a fundamental flaw in that analogy that conspiracy theorists, guess what they don't have?
What?
Integrity.
Fair enough, but I will let you talk if you don't insult me, if you don't use stupid, like whatever you call Lenny's doing, oh, you believe in rape. If you take something I say and you morph it into some sort of, oh, you think it's okay to eat babies because animals are not sentient either. If you take a connection that's kind of a non sequitur, not based on anything I've said, and you connect them in a big open way like that, and anything that Lenny's doing, whatever his tactics are, that pisses me off. Make your argument, present your facts, talk about your opinions, do all of that. Never tell me I'm a rapist. Never tell me I want to eat babies. Never talk about my feelings about something. Stick to your feelings and your fucking facts.
You know, I got a question for Lenny. You know, it just popped into my mind. Lenny, how many animals, insects or otherwise, do you think were killed when that combine ran through that field harvesting that wheat that you're talking about eating? Mm-hmm. Add up all the insects, all the rodents, the birds, all of them that were killed just to harvest the vegetables and the grains that you eat. So
not to mention lizards, snakes, other
who's the murderer now?
Guys, don't forget the forests or the whatever
the trees?
Natural land was there before the farms that they had.
Why is Jose attacking me?
So who's the murderer now, Lenny?
Sometimes.
Why is Jose
somebody
attacking
please
me?
think of the trees.
Fuck Lenny. Why is Jose attacking me all of a sudden?
I call it keeping yourself relevant.
Jose JG Gonzalez is attacking me, calling me a mainstream Muppet.
Are you?
Mainstream Muppet.
What is that?
You pimp your booty out for panels?
No, I don't actually.
No, he doesn't, Jose. Sorry.
Hey, you know what? I went on his channel. I was talking. He started talking over me, and then he accused me of talking over him in that instance. I was like, what are you fucking talking about, Jose? I started talking. I had been talking for quite a minute, like 10 seconds at least. Then he starts talking, and then he's like, don't talk over me. I'm like, motherfucker, I was talking first. I unsubscribed. So there you go, Jose. I might be a mainstream Muppet, but I'm not visiting your channel anymore.
What just happened?
I'm sorry. No hate to actually Jose, but that shit sucks and it pisses me off. I'm not a mainstream Muppet. I don't even know what that means. And he's attacking me for no reason in your chat.
Just ignore him. I ignore the chat.
I go to two chats and now it's one apparently, and maybe Mr. Sensible, but now I'm here with you, and I tried to go on his chat recently and talk to Arwin, and that became a shit show. And then
you can't talk to Arwin. That's impossiple.
Apparently so.
Yo.
But here, I'll tell everybody here on this panel, anyone here on this panel that goes to Jose's. Sorry, Sean, I don't mean to talk over you.
Sure you do.
Anyone that goes to Jose's, if you go to Jose's panel and you're making a point and he starts talking, you better shut up or he'll tell you you're talking over you and give you shit about it because he doesn't care about that.
Well, it's his show. That's how I feel. If I start talking and you talk over me and it frustrates me, I'll say something.
Sean, if I start talking and then you start talking over me, that's what happened.
Yeah, but if you continue like Aaron does, then it pisses people off.
I get it, but here's what happened. I had the floor. I was talking. Nobody else was talking. I was making my point. Then Jose just talked over me, and then I was the one at fault. And that, you know what? If I talked over Jose, no. And if I talked over Jose, I would admit it. I did not. He talked over me, and then I was the so-called culprit.
Well, here's the thing. It's his show. I talk over everyone here. Ask him. Sometimes I just start ranting. And I'll cut them off. Yeah, I mean,
but then once you do, you start accusing them of talking over you.
Oh yeah, I yell at them all the time.
No, I guess you're missing the point because you don't do that.
Huh?
Sean
G's making a point, and you talk over me. You might ask me to stop talking.
It's my panel. I should be able to.
Yeah. Sean G's a raging dick. We all know it.
Yeah.
Yes, okay, but check this out. Check this out. And who's going to back me up? If you're talking and somebody starts talking, do you honestly always know who that is right away?
Yes. I know everyone by voice. I don't need your little avatar to pop up. I know exactly. If everyone talks, I know exactly who's talking just by hearing it.
Even if everybody's talking at once?
Yes, 100%. Because I can tell.
Well, yeah, especially Aaron.
That's how I tell who to shut up the most.
I don't have that ability. I was talking and I wasn't looking at my phone, and then Jose started talking.
How long you been on panels?
What, a year?
Okay. You should know voices by now. People, stop imagining what
It
they
isn't
look
that
like.
I
Just
don't know
imagine
voices. It's that I can't hear them over my head. Over my
Oh my
I couldn't
God!
hear.
Can we stop bitching and crying?
Thank you, Travis.
I don't know. You should try it sometime. Plain truth.
Okay. Thanks, Shane. Okay, I
Okay.
will.
There's your
Okay.
attitude. Stop.
What the fuck? Oh, you guys are so.
Sean, what have you started?
Hopefully a cat fight. I don't know.
No, I'm cool. I'm cool. I got talked over and then was accused of talking over somebody when I was already talking. That was my
Dude,
point.
like,
It's valid. Whatever.
Is your mangina bleeding
Can
right
you
now?
make that point one more time, Shane?
Yes.
Just say it one more time. Just tell us one more time what happened on
Seriously,
Jose's.
can somebody
Travis?
get this man a mangina pon? The tampon for
Wow.
man.
Oh,
Wow.
that was
for
weak.
and for the record, Lodi, I win. You're
My
lying,
wife said
Crash.
Season's opening up.
Hey, Crash says if I give him the link, he won't talk about food or bacon, which is the same thing. So I don't know why you preface both.
Food or bacon?
Yeah, he said I won't bring up food or bacon.
I like how bacon's a second entity to food.
Lenny doesn't want to bring up food or bacon?
Let's get a topic happening that doesn't involve an AE ligature.
I'm still lost.
How's that climate going for you guys up north? Is it getting really cold now?
Define up north.
Well, I live in the southern hemisphere, so anyone above me is north.
I'm in Seattle.
You're still north from me.
Hell yeah.
Minneapolis.
Oh, sorry. Hang on. I got that wrong. In Flurf Talk, you're up.
That's true.
You're up from where I am.
Wait. I have a question. Who's which way is oriented up from space? Like,
there is no space in Flurfadia.
we're not.
Depends on the observer.
I'm
The sun.
on Earth.
Okay, Sean, it depends on your frame of reference.
Okay. But then
So what are you
if
referencing?
you're up or down?
Okay. So to us,
away from the
anywhere
sun.
where our head is, wherever our head is in space, is technically up, because
Well,
that's our visual.
What if there's two of us and we're oriented opposite?
You'll see it in an opposite frame of reference.
Then up is right between your two heads.
Well, someone's going to be right and someone's got to be wrong, right?
Sean, the actual answer to that argument is there is no up in space.
Away from the
That's what I was
sun.
looking for.
And in space, no one can hear you fart.
Unless they're in
I
a
say
spacesuit.
away from the center of the sun.
Why would you say that? That doesn't even make sense.
Because it's the largest mass in the solar system, so everything when in space in this solar system, like when we're on Earth, is away from the center of the sun, that's up.
What?
No.
What the hell did he just say?
No.
Why
So
not? Okay, wait, follow the logic.
That's not how physics
logic.
works.
What is up from where we're at right now, right? Earth, right? It's the largest.
If we're on Earth, up is
away from Earth.
Is towards space.
Right. So if you're in space, the largest mass that's pulling on you would be what?
Oh no, that's only if you're on the mass, not if you're off it.
Yeah, it
isn't
for instance,
on. It's about distance. It's about distance.
The ISS is not fighting the sun's gravity right now. It's not going.
Okay,
oh no, we're gonna get pulled away.
Okay, you got me. So it's what, away from Earth then, depending on how far out you are in space, I guess.
Anywhere in space.
Literally,
away from the closest largest
it only matters your position.
So up would be then away from the closest
you are, because
mass.
there's no reference frame for up or down in space. Whatever orientation you are, looking at Earth is your up and your down.
But what if you're closer to Jupiter?
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. If you're outside of the atmosphere of a planet...
tasted like unicorn farts. That's what you just said.
It isn't what I just said.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm sorry. I mean, not word for word, just basically.
Well, I mean, you're talking about being away from Earth is up, right? I mean, we're having a funny discussion essentially, but
Because
up,
your
up is the
reference frame is on Earth. Therefore,
right.
up is space. But once you are in space, your reference frame is no longer Earth because you are now. We're trying to figure out what is up if you're in space. And
Okay,
that
well
can
then let's
only be
follow that
relative
for
to your
fun.
orientation because that is the only reference frame you have yourself.
Not necessarily. Doesn't gravity affect everything in space?
What does gravity have to do
But
with
gravity's
reference
not a
frame?
reference frame.
Gravity's not the reference frame. I'm not talking about a reference frame. Gravity affects everything. So what? If you're going up from
But
Earth, what's your reference frame? Earth. Why? Because gravity's pointing toward the center.
I'm
So
confused.
up is away from Earth.
Do
yeah,
you know what a reference
relativity
frame is?
relativity states that whilst in the vacuum of space, the only orientation you have for up is your vision. That's the only way
Where
you can
does
perceive any
your-
form
okay,
of up.
fine. I'm
Your
not
body
saying you're wrong or
orientation.
right, but where are you getting that from?
That's the way relativity works. Okay, so if you are in space, okay, gravity will not affect your orientation to up.
What is look, I'm taking it from Earth. Up from Earth is away from Earth. Once you get to space, then you have no reference frame. It's just what you're looking. That's what you're saying
Yes,
relativity talks about. Relativity
that's
goes to that minutia.
Your reference
That's
frame is
exactly
based
right.
upon your own personal orientation.
Okay. Orientation to
Just your own orientation.
so wherever your head
That-
can go
that
backwards
is
and
your-
look straight in line with your spine away from your body, that's up.
Up is above your head, whichever direction you're pointing.
All right. Fair
That's
enough.
the only reference frame you've got.
Thank you. That's the explanation I was looking for. Cool. I'm with you.
Okay.
Thanks.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that was fun. Carry on.
Or put it this way: are you looking at
No,
your
wait,
avatar
son.
right now?
No, I'm looking at yours.
God damn it! Hang on. Well, this is what you need to do: make it so you can see only your avatar. So pin your avatar.
Okay, got it.
Okay, you're looking at your avatar right now, right?
Yeah.
Okay, you are in space. See how your Earth is up?
My Earth is in front of me.
Yeah. And everything's pointed, right side up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's because of your reference frame. Because of you, how you are you are oriented in space. If you don't get that,
Okay.
I can't help you.
You know I get that. Jesus Christ.
I don't know you get that.
You have to know I'm not that dumb.
Does anyone know he has that? He gets it. Anybody?
I know nothing.
You know why you know I get that? Because I'm not arguing with you on it. There you go.
No, bearded devil. The question wasn't the up or down. It was more, is Earth right side up or upside down? And then that's why the reference frame became what it is if you're in space.
Right. And to be fair, I noticed that my avatar isn't tilted like it's supposed to be, so don't say anything about that.
Oh, don't worry.
Sensitive about
Right
that
now,
too.
the most comments I get in my chat these days are, "Hey, in your background, the Earth is spinning the wrong way," and I go, "It's a 3D fucking background." What the fuck? I'm not going live from space. It's the dying planet.
You should. That's a great catchphrase.
Like, Jesus Christ, people, like, really? Like, that's where your heads are at? It's like, yeah, like, for instance, this is real. These are really, those are real foxes dancing on my screen right now, guys. Yeah. You guys may not be able to see it, but people in the chat can. What I'm trying to say is, get over
You're
it,
just
people.
using space time to your advantage.
I am. People don't like that very much. Flat Earthers. Bearded Devil said, "You know what, dude? Why don't you come in here, goddammit? Not only do I not like typing, I don't like reading, which is why I ignore half the goddamn chats that have my shit tagged. And Jose, quit being a fucking whiner, dude. Fuck. Jose just
Is
whines a
Erebus
lot.
being shy?
I think so. Either
He
that
normally
or
likes to come in here
Travis left, though.
and
well, if
help.
Travis started talking, then he would.
I kept my word. I haven't brought up food in the chat. I'm
just
being
did.
Have.
You just did.
I'm being Ave.
You literally just brought up food.
Just the topic, not the actual
That's how things
process.
start. Hey, Matrix
I didn't bring
Media,
up any food related.
just so you understand, science and Scientology are not the same thing. You may want to look up those definitions and see what those are.
Yeah, Scientology. That's a bad road to go down. They do some nasty things.
Finger paints
South
without towels.
Huge episode on
out, and he came in.
them.
That's what a real man does, Lenny. Pussy. Oh, what's up, guys? That's the people that just got here. Channel and I forgot. Channel and Erebus. Damn. Put this
So,
okay.
a topic.
Well, I wanted to finish this.
A topic
Erebus
I have.
hang on. Erebus was
Really
saying.
fun.
Hang on. Erebus was saying that regardless of whether or not you're on Earth or in space. Oh yeah, I think I explained that to you. I don't even see. I gotta stop smoking so much before these damn streams. Sorry, Erebus. He's mad at me now. Okay, go ahead, Crash. Let's hear.
Said I've got that really fun rocket fuel shit that we've been playing with.
All I heard is you
the last couple.
You said all I heard was
couple days.
I have really rocket fuel play with Daves. That's what we heard.
Damn it! Oh shit! Is that better?
Did you clean your shirt off?
No.
You ever see that where people are
Damn
like,
it.
they look at themselves and they fix their shirt and they're like, "Got a still look high?"
Yes. It's not your shirt.
You
It's
cool,
not your
man.
Yeah. Hey, Shane. Just so you do know, Lodi was in the chat earlier and he predicted you may cry, and so someone in the chat in this panel wins.
I didn't actually cry, did I?
I don't know. I don't know if it was a real cry or like a
What does that mean?
whine.
That I was upset about what Jose said.
Yeah. And
I'm not going to be ashamed of being upset about something. I'm a human being. I have feelings.
I mean, it's like, damn.
What?
Crashes says we have been playing with self-igniting rocket fuel at the shop.
Can you please turn your fucking camera on? What the fuck? I want to play.
Who,
Yeah,
me?
I want to see your oxygenation of fuel.
Wait, so Matrix says, bro, that wasn't the point. He's talking about the Scientology comment. He says, it wasn't meant to point out, or it wasn't the point. It was meant to point out the cultish behavior Globers have by asserting only they get it and flat earthers don't. That was an oxymoron. That whole question.
Science and Scientology is like putting astronomy and astrology together. There's no segue.
There's no. It's comparing apples to oranges.
No, that's comparing apples to planets.
True.
Matrix.
But no, Sean.
They good?
What causes it is we get it and they don't. That's right.
And because they don't, it's pseudoscience.
Some of us learn to understand
Matrix is just another comment commando. He wants to sit in YouTube and make his comments there and not come in here and actually try to back up what he's blathering.
Yeah, I think anybody who has issues with anything and then sits there and kind of just talk shit and blah blah. Like, come on, get on the freaking panel, beat men up, Matrix.
Hey Sean, I used to do that sort of shit like 10 years ago on Facebook, and then realized that all I'm doing is making myself upset, and the other person knows it. So I stopped.
Guess who wins when that
There's
happens?
no point. Yeah, the other person.
Yep.
My bad. I was just trying to. And you guys may be experiencing buffering. I have no idea why the hell it's buffering. I am on Ether. I'm hooked up. I'm fucking on the Ether or whatever, or the internet wire part. Ethernet cable. There you go. Damn. Brain fart. And
How far can your
Brain
signal
fart or
travel?
stoned? Which one?
How far can you see through the Ethernet?
Yeah, what's your bandwidth on that ether?
40 or 4,228, but I'm showing red, so I'm confused too.
Red just mean red. That normally means that one of the connections is not receiving or sending.
That's by the download. Yeah, I'm dropping frames, so it's download.
Yeah.
My download is down. I don't like my provider. They suck. Oh well. Okay, let's think of a topic, guys, so people don't leave. What time is it? I figured this way. I saw that MC Tune was gonna go live, and I went, I don't care. That's what everyone should do. I'll go live when Jose goes live. I don't care. If I decide I want to go live, guess what? That's why I did it for a reason. I don't go on so I can get everyone here. I'm telling you right now, I said this a while ago, if I had 100 people watching, I'd get nervous.
Really?
Oh, yo, fuck yeah. Oh, yeah. Like, seriously, everyone here is the same fucking people. I know everyone. I feel comfortable as shit.
Yeah, but Sean, we come here because it's like having a chat at a fucking picnic.
Exactly.
Or a pub.
Yeah.
Or a barbecue.
Exactly.
You know?
No,
Yeah,
I think
people
more
get drunk.
Yeah, more like
There's
a pub
fights,
with all the
there's
liquor
groups.
involved.
It's like a family affair.
Yeah, damn.
Hang on. You might want to retract that because a family affair with all men, that, yeah.
Not
that equates to a circle jerk.
No, it's not a fair. Damn, what the fuck? Jesus Christ. You got a problem, Jose? You got a problem with what I said?
Yeah, I need 1 minute with Shane.
Oh, yeah. Go ahead.
Peekaboo, I see you.
Okay, so Shane typed in a comment, oh, whatever, shut the fuck up, Jose, you run the same show every day. It's the same thing every day. So, do you watch my show, Shane? He said, oh, I don't watch it anymore. Then you are fucking lying. Because if you don't watch my show, how in the fuck do you know it's the same show every day, you fucking liar? Eh?
It's like talking shit
Answer
about
that,
people
please.
at Walmart, and you're at Walmart. That was funny.
I resemble that remark.
That's my favorite one. Just think about it. The people that take those people of Walmart pictures, they're at Walmart too.
Yeah, that's all. It's sad. I also want to expose a liar because when he makes a statement, it's like Scorsese, the director of movies. He say the Marvel movies suck. They are not cinema. I don't watch the movies, but they are not cinema. They are not real movies. How the fuck he's gonna say it's not cinema if he doesn't watch the movies? How the fuck do you know, Shane? If my shows are the same, if you don't fucking watch them, you fucking liar, asshole.
Yeah, you kind of out yourself when you say they're the same every day, and then you're like that topic so and so past week was this and this, but I don't watch it.
The only time I've really been seen something on Jose's that was the same was like there was a 3-day span where it was like Coriolis Fest, and after that we got onto some different stuff.
I heard off topic, but was it 3 days ago? I actually heard the best explanation for the Coriolis. it's not the Coriolis effect isn't what something does. Hurricanes, bullets, anything that that we're talking that would you see the effects. It describes what's happening. It's description. That makes sense. So, right, you guys, anybody?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, so like
It's
people,
the
they're like the Coriolis.
it's the
It's not
description
real.
of what. Yeah, it's the description of what happens, not the effect on the object, but what's happening with the object.
Yes,
That's what you're saying, right?
yeah. It's just an explanation.
Yeah, it's an effect.
Yeah. It's so the Coriolis being real or not. It's we see it.
Whether it's
Therefore,
whether it's real or not, it still happens. If you head in a northerly direction, you're going to drift to the left.
Yeah, that's the other thing. You can do that. The whole throwing a ball on a merry-go-round thing, and I'm sorry, that's you're right there.
That's the principle.
Yeah, it's not about real or not. It's real, but you're not choreo. It's so confusing. It just doesn't even make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Some of these things, I get that you have to understand certain things to understand whether or not it's right or wrong. But
Coriolis is caused by rotation.
Yeah, but these things like that describe something. It's just makes no
Which
sense.
way do you drift? Say that again.
As far as I know, if you head north, you drift left.
In the northern hemisphere, the deflection's to the right.
No. This is from my position.
Oh, and
if you head north, you'll because I'm in the south.
Yeah, if you're in the south, you'll go left. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Either
Sorry,
direction.
I'm so sorry. I'm not in your hemisphere, so
I know. My bad.
It's my reference.
The deflection is to the left, no matter which direction you travel. If you travel from north to south in the southern hemisphere, you still deflect to the left.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Because
Davros lives in NASA hoax land.
That's okay, as long as I get my shield checks. Or actually, I'm starting to get paid in bacon these days, so yeah.
This one may be better.
There we go.
Look, that one right there. That's exactly what happens.
That's not real. That's all CGI.
I don't care what you say.
Damn.
Science denier.
And get it off the screen. Get it off the screen. It's not a class 5 vegan picture.
Hang on, what was it? Was it that Eyes to See said we couldn't use diagrams or graphs from any other website unless we did it ourselves?
Wait, what? Wait, so like something like this?
Yep.
Like my own website? So what should I put on here so I could actually present it?
Yeah, just have a website of all these downloaded pictures and graphs and go, look, it's on my website. It's my information now.
That's exactly what that is. So everyone knows this is. You guys get a sneak peek of the website. I'm building it right now.
I understand now, Shonji. Shane is just butthurt because I took over him once. So I'm gonna remember what you did 1 month ago, Shonji. You took over me, you asshole.
Can't we just be friends? You know what? Fuck you, because I may have talked over you, but
Jose,
I talked over you had nothing to do with what you were doing to those frogs.
Well, wait a minute. Hey, we got something here. Lenny, he says, terms were proposed between me and Sean G. It isn't my problem he wants attention. I want to crush him with facts. Well, that means you're going to kill him. Does that mean you're going to eat him too?
Jesus Christ, Lenny.
Okay, what are his facts?
The terms
Does he have any?
Was he wanted to have an email debate, and I'm sorry, I don't want to do that. And I'm not a coward. If I don't want to email debate you, I would rather do it on my live stream where I can just talk and say it like a person, not a keyboard warrior, Lenny. Okay, well, you come up with some
So if
facts
this
and we'll
debate
talk.
happens, like barbecue in the background and shit.
No, like the debate just happened at the beginning of the stream. I did it.
Is Lenny like a SJW as well?
Oh no. I honestly think he's one of those the whisper people.
Whisper people.
Okay.
ASMR. There you go.
Oh no.
I think he's scared to talk because he sounds like that.
Hey, look at all those quadrangles on the screen.
It's a rectangle.
Demonic, I have seen an ASMR video though where it's cooking bacon.
Nice.
Yeah, no, but you can just turn down the volume and watch the bacon get cooked.
And Jose, I do have one issue to pick with you and your show.
Please give me some feedback. I'll take the advice.
Right, you know that little after show thing that you recorded that you streamed the other day?
Yeah.
Why the hell is that not being uploaded to your channel as a separate video?
And which one was that one with
FED.
refresh my mind.
FED.
Yeah, I got some good after shows. Yeah.
Yes, you need to
Oh,
upload
the one
that
with
one
Bob
as a
the
special.
Science guy. Yeah,
Yes,
the one
you
with
need
Bob.
to
I haven't
upload that.
uploaded.
Yeah.
I'll do that tomorrow. I'll probably pass out today after this show.
So, Sean G, were you going to bring up those pictures that we were going over before?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
And Charlie Summer in YouTube chat was talking about losing 78 pounds and putting on, this much lean mass. Dude, I lose 78 pounds when I take a shit.
That's so cute. Thank you, unpaid.
Hey, no problem.
Yeah, problem. a little bit of just a tad, like a small one, but like big, like huge. Like, please don't do that again.
Also, if you were big enough to lose 78 pounds, there must have been something wrong.
Oh no! My ex, damn, she lost like 80-something pounds. Oh, it definitely took a doctor, but yeah. But yeah, I mean, I guess you're right, because yeah, there's some shit wrong with her. She got issues. Yeah, I guess you are right. Never mind. I'll shut up now.
Thank you,
Sean.
Sean.
There they are. All right. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to share this screen with you. That way, you guys in the chat or in the Hangout can see it. So. All right. So
waiting for the denial.
What I did was I have all the images that we were looking at. Let me open these up so you can see them.
It's clearly CGI.
Each distance of the mountains showing, how much is seen. Now, Travis went on earlier on his stream last night and went over this. We went over this yesterday, but for the sake of argument, I was thinking Travis, I thought was going to be here, but hey, I think Travis is confused in the fact that he thinks because the mountain is the same size, I don't even know the argument. See, here's the problem. He can't explain what he's talking about for one very, very obvious reason. Ready? His ether band does not have data. What do I mean? If, as far as I'm concerned, and as far as everyone here should be concerned, anytime you hear the term ether band, or as Ali B calls it, ether blanket. If you guys haven't heard that, go listen to Ali B's stream from last night or 2 nights ago. I'm sorry. Funniest shit in the world. Anyway, the same way we call a mirage, refraction, atmospheric optics. That's what ether band is. Atmospheric optics. Now, what is atmospheric optics? It is a term for hundreds of effects that are observed in our atmosphere due to fill in blank. But the problem even with that is if he's not willing to acknowledge atmospheric optics and what goes into that and what is described in that, then what is he going to? How does he have Etherband even as a go-to? I'm sorry. Just because you don't like the word atmospheric optics doesn't mean it's wrong, for one, and Etherband is right. Your Etherband can be as right as you want it to be. But reality is when you say Etherband, every single one of us think atmospheric optics. And we have detail. So basically what I did is he doesn't understand that in these sequence of photos that it's not the size of the mountain, because the mountain is actually zoomed into the aperture of the same size for a purpose. So that you can see that even zooming in does not bring back, for one, anything. Because the curvature is not an atmospheric optic. Curvature is
Sean.
Curvature. It's what's up.
The perfect thing is that little mountain on the right is the perfect indicator of it disappearing behind something.
Right here,
yeah,
right above
that
the
one
numbers.
there. Yeah, and that's the one that Travis pointed out yesterday. Because when you get to, I think it's the second to last photo, it's almost non-existent.
Yep, I'll sequence it now. That one. Everyone can see it. I'll go bam, bam. Okay. Go to the next one. That's the very dramatic one.
Where's it going? Where's it going?
And less.
That one, look. You can't even see the wings that attach it to the rest of the mountain range. And then when you go to the last one, it's gone.
Just a tip. She said.
Exactly. Just the tip.
Just above the K.
Yeah.
And here's the thing that I don't think Travis took into mind when he did these observations. And here's the big crux to it. He says it's atmospheric, that atmosphere in the way that's causing the obstruction. The problem is when you look at these pictures, how come this day doesn't obstruct more than this day that looks much clearer? Or how come there's not more in this one compared to this one? Which is another.
Are they taking on different days? Oh my goodness!
This is 100% evidence. Fuck it, proof that in this situation, atmosphere does not cause obstruction. Curvature causes obstruction. I'm sorry if you don't like it. Explain to me how these two clear days aren't showing more than this day.
No, basically, if you don't like it, get a better story.
Yeah.
Or how come this day isn't hiding more than, say, this day? On the clear day, it actually is hiding more due to obstruction of due to curvature, not atmosphere. There's less atmosphere here than in this one. So again, that whole atmosphere obstructs it doesn't work the way you guys think it does. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
and I'm showing it right now.
That 60K mark is about half a degree of curvature. Because in kilometers, I think it's 112. is equivalent to 69 miles.
You are correct, Monica.
Yeah, so the 60 is about halfway. A little bit more, but yeah, it's a pity they don't have one at 100, but they probably couldn't go any further.
43 miles. What was the next one? 83. 51 miles. Again.
Yeah, so that's almost 3/4 of a degree.
And again, it's. I'll go blue in the face until someone explains this to me. If it's atmosphere, why is more missing on a clear day than on a very hazy day? Or dusk probably, where you're seeing more. There's more atmospheric optics happening, or this clear day compared to. Alright, gotta close these ones out. This day. Sorry, didn't mean that one.
Is the plain truth here? He was talking to me about this picture yesterday in his stream late last night.
I saw him talking about it. I didn't get it all. I had to take care of some stuff, but all in all, I know he claims it's atmospheric that's causing obstruction.
Well, these weren't the only pictures. There were a number of other ones in that whatever it came from.
Oh yeah. I think I have the website actually.
And he was raising hell about some of the ones they weren't using. I'll listen to part of it.
Let me see if I know that website. I mean, in fact, I actually have a whole file of those things. Hang on, if I have them.
Let's ask Trish. Trish was in the chat when the plain truth and me we having the discussion. Then I brought my lighthouse, and I had so much fun presenting him the lighthouse and doing the blink test with him. We broke it down really good. Oh my God, he was like, "Oh, magnification! Like, how can you say this is a lighthouse from this? You gotta watch it, bro. I probably clip that and upload it because it was fantastic, man. It was hilarious."
Jose, you understand Travis doesn't understand scaling?
I told him, dude, the scale, the far away. I say I don't know. It was bad, the argument. It was fun. I had fun. I was laughing all the time, but yeah, it was sad that I don't know. He cannot see from my point of view. Like, dude, if you want to do a comparison of a picture of me with the phone, taking a picture close up to my face, and I go 20 feet away, I take a picture of me, right? I have to maximize the face and make it even, side by side, so I'm able to compare if there's any distortion or whatever. How am I going to compare a big face versus a tiny face in the background? I have to somehow make it even, and he doesn't understand that concept. He say it's not valid if you are resizing an image to compare it to another. I say that's the only way to compare an image to another, to resize it somehow and see if anything is missing from the bottom up, if you understand what I mean.
Oh, he understands it. He just denies it.
I mean, that's how they pick people out in a lineup and stuff like that off of footage from cameras, like security cameras and stuff.
Yeah, they have to zoom into that photo to get the right representation of that face to try and even pick them out.
To scale it, to scale it and compare one to another. You have to scale it pretty much as close as possible, the same size, one to another. To the comparison is the only way, pretty much.
What is this website, Sean?
It's Debunking Flat Earth Misconceptions. It's actually a pretty badass site. So basically, every flat Earth argument is basically broken down and debunked, I guess. I'll put the link in the chat. You guys can have it as well. It's in there, like the whole thing is just like these little memes.
You know what would be interesting is to get the owner of the site on here.
That'd be for real, actually. I'll look into that in a little bit. Yeah, actually, so what the hell were we talking about? Curvature. See, they have pretty much any observation we've heard of, they have it on here, explaining it, breaking it down.
Hey, look, they have illustrations to download.
Yeah, you can download, like, what's called, I don't know why you down. Let me see. I don't think I've played it in a while. Alright, so yeah, so it's basically like a step-by-step break, and it breaks down each one of these images to kind of break down what's going on and everything.
Did I tell you I had a feast of tacos before I started here? I cooked this ground beef, and it was I had a feast of tacos. So I cooked this ground beef, juicy, like seasoned Puerto Rican style, and it was so good. I started as soon as you start eating it, it's like bacon. You start feeling your arteries getting clogged with every bite. It's good. Meat is just awesome. Just saying.
Don't get trichinosis.
You don't get that from beef.
Oh. I don't know why I thought he said like pig or something. But you get that from bears.
Actually, yeah, I didn't feel my arteries getting clogged. Probably I was just excited of like the grease of the meat coming down there.
Mm-hmm.
Sean G, go down a little bit to where there's a one on there that says common misconceptions. Hold on, let me get back to the site. But jumping to conclusions.
Was it one of these options?
It was on the main page, but it says jumping to conclusions. Blue will get a kick out of this.
Jumping to conclusions. Bias is committed when one falls distinguish between observation and influence.
Yeah, Chunji, at the end, the last 2 hours of my show, there was flatter data, giving hell to everybody. I rounded up the main show. I said, all right, I'm just gonna keep streaming live as for after show, and oh my god, it was like 2 hours hardcore with flatter data. I mean, all in, and then Colin jumped in. You know, Colin with the little toy avatar. Mm-hmm. Oh my god, and it got bad, bro. The last 2 hours is a must see. It's one of the biggest shit shows I had in a long time.
Absolutely,
it was
brilliant.
Have you ever heard?
It was Sean. It was a fecal hurricane.
Jesus.
It was 45 minutes of 7 people talking simultaneously.
And I was screaming. I mean, I was screaming.
Yeah.
And Flat Earth Data brought his
answer the question.
Flat Earth Data brought his great paper out and basically debunked himself. It was fantastic.
I couldn't stop the stream because it was pure gold, pure comedy. It was so bad that it was so good. I couldn't just stop the stream there, man.
I think that happened to me like 2 nights ago. What was that, last night or the night before I did 5 hours? I think it was 2 nights ago. I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I think it was Sunday or something. That ended up
happening. Yeah, but when you see a stream like 4 or 5 hours, it's because something good went down, you know.
Yeah, I try to keep mine around 2 to 3 hours. If you see a 5 hour on mine, something happened in that motherfucker. That's why I gotta start doing I have a bunch of clips that I want to use as highlights, but my fucking uploads suck ass. So it's like, what's the point?
It was cool in the beginning. I had Slice Parkin went in the beginning of the show. Mm-hmm. He was like 1 hour solid, and he had a decent one-on-one with Cynical Skeptic. and they were talking about circle navigation and Jupiter and a bunch of different things. It was cool, I enjoyed the first 2 hours were decent. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh shit! Before I forget, what I want to do is, and most of you guys were here when Rumpus and Barney had their little shindig, and I actually
I
enjoyed
heard
it.
that. Yeah.
And I issued a challenge to the both for me to pick a topic and then them bait it out. So it's taken me longer than I thought, because I really wanted to think of something that like they would actually have an issue or something to talk about. And I realized, why don't I just give them a topic, but then they have to argue a side. So I decided my favorite: global warming and solutions, pros and cons. Barney will have to express the cons because he's so against me talking about the cons of it, and Rumpus the pros for it. They both are pretty smart dudes, so they should be able to argue for any side, right? Especially if.
How can there be a pro to global warming?
No, a pro to the solutions. I meant. So their view on global warming and the solutions they have, pros or cons for them.
So like if Barney had to say like atmospheric darkening, why it's a problem with crop growth and animal growth and all that sort of thing.
Yes. Whereas, and Rumpus would have to give you the pros, temperature or global temperature falls, blah 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 blah. But
increased algae growth, blah blah blah.
The main thing for me is that Barney really comes down on me hard when I just do my bias version of geoengineering. And I said that the other day. I am biased. I can't help it. That's one thing I'm so biased on. It's insane. There's nothing wrong with me expressing all the risks and crap they're not saying before I announce anything of the positive of it. Especially if there's more negative than positives. Why even talk the positives of it?
Shunji, do you agree that even though it's documented and you talk by whatever is evidence out there, it's still your opinion because the way you present it, let's say you read the article and then you interpret it your own way, even if you're just rephrasing what you say, it's still your opinion, and 100%. Another person can look at the same article and can interpret it a different way. It's true, right?
100%.
Amen to that.
100%. Because actually, the last real bad incident of this I remember, I had read a report where I had interpreted it as they were doing field studies, which outside, not just in labs or computer simulations. And Brenda actually came on the stream and was saying, it's your bias. She was saying what you just said, and I didn't agree. And then someone outside of the argument read it and came and emailed me, I think, or DM'd me like a day later and said, yeah, it was the way you read it. It was the way you interpreted it for it to have said that. And next day I came streamed and I apologized. Everyone does it all the time. That's why you got
everyone has sides. Everyone has their own interpretation of information.
And everybody poops.
Do you think that part of that is how the information is put down? Like maybe it was put down kind of as a bias?
That can be a part of it.
Was it a news article or a study?
It was a publication. It was in a journal.
So it could have been manipulated.
I think it was definitely my interpretation of it. I also think... No, I think it was more my interpretation of it. If it was a blog or a one of those, website, conspiracy websites, I would then, because I go to a lot of those sites. The difference between me and someone else's is when they say, "Ooh, nanobots are getting into people's eyeballs and they're seeing red, and then they can hear your thoughts." Like, all I do is I get to these articles and I go to I have 4 or 5 conspiracy websites that I go to before I will ever in my life talk about them on here. They have to, things have to correlate. Things have to have data that would back them. If a geoengineering or one of those sites say geoengineering, they're spraying over us. Okay, I want to know when. I want to know what study what agency was doing it that you know about it and are able to express that to me. Otherwise, it's just them saying it. I could, on that little website I'm making, I can put 1,000 pictures up and say chemtrailing, chemtrailing, chemtrailing. It doesn't make it right.
I've seen so many videos of just people with their phones pointing at the sky, looking at clouds or contrails, saying chemtrails. So many.
Yeah,
of those.
even clouds are chemtrails.
Yeah.
I still got
They've
like
been
2 or 3
spraying-
of those. I think I got
they've
2 or
been
3 of those
spraying
in my
again.
channel when I began to upload videos.
I don't think I
Jose,
have
spray
any
the
of
vinegar,
those.
mate.
I couldn't like the idea. Here's what it was. I'm not going to even say they do it because that gets annoying when I say it. They spray aerosols. They don't spray nanobots. I never got into the whole, they're all like that. They're all chemtrails, everything like that. Because, everything was a fucking chemtrail to these people. Everything. Like, dude, you get, like, what a contrail is. No, they're not going to be putting these in commercial planes. People, if they did this with commercial planes, do you know how much money they would be paying these motherfuckers? They wouldn't care about passengers. They wouldn't even do passengers anymore. They just fly around spraying shit because the government has to pay them and keep it a secret.
Yeah, you can take a boat.
How do you know those planes have passengers in them, Sean?
I've been one.
That's the conspiracy mindset. That is how bad it is.
Well, I've been a passenger. They tried that no fuel in planes thing for like 20 seconds. I had 2 streams, 2 of my best viewed streams, and I was just like, don't even talk about it here. Done.
Excuse me, Channel X, define people. That's a good
also,
one right
what's the point? What's the point of windows on a plane if there's no people in it?
To fool you that there's people on the plane. Come on. Ugh.
To cover it up.
Wake
For
up.
all the mannequins.
Why wouldn't they put people on the plane to take our money to be able to do these things? Like,
yeah, but the weight of those windows would mean that if they took those windows out and just had aluminium, they'd be able to carry more chemicals to spray.
It's never ending, isn't it? Great fun.
Just in a slight different, but I just heard that. I just put that define people, right? I heard in a lot of flatter panels, shout out to the Oakley Clown Show, there's a few guys, right? Like if I go ask him like, hey, are you a man? Are you a male? Yes or no? And some people would jump in like, define yes, or define no, or define men. I said, dude, really? What the fuck? They never want to move on and progress in their discussion. They want to stop everybody in their tracks by playing this definition game when it's unnecessary. It's sad, bro. That's the way I see these discussions. Some of the flatter techniques are really sad, bro.
I don't think it's a definition game at all, or a means to define each other's views on it. It's literally to go, and this is what I've seen it to be. Do you know what you're talking about? And you need to verify it. Tell me what it is. And Flat Earth, you may get upset that people are doing that. Do it to us, so you can make sure we do. But it is a very important thing to understand. You need to understand that Flat Earth is on the crux of someone figured it all out, then figured out where it's wrong, and then came up with an alternative way of it actually working, and then came up with a flat Earth. That's not even close to what flat Earth is.
I agree with you. The thing is, like, let's say if I go to a panel, right, and I say like, hey, did you guys hear me? I mean, did you guys hear my voice? And somebody coming like, define voice or define here. Like, dude, that's their style, bro. That's what pissed me off. I said, dude, I'm just asking you just a simple question that anybody can ask. That you don't need no definitions for. Can you hear me? Like something like that. You know, that's what I mean. Like some things are so simple that I want to ask a simple question. They cannot ask. They want to spend 2 hours on and this one definition that is unnecessary. Is what I mean. Bro, cringy.
A couple of days, Jose. A couple of days ago, they spent a whole damn show arguing the difference between mass inertia and a mole.
Yeah, I haven't watched your latest upload. I gotta watch that one today.
I was involved in that. Very
that thing with the moles equaling mass.
Holy Jesus.
What?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, so
Alright.
they're putting chemistry into physics.
Nathan is determined that a mole is the same thing as mass.
Yeah, I tried to explain. It's just a smaller. Like it's again. Do you understand what we're talking about? What is a mole? You know, it's not a little furry animal we're talking about, right? Those things are important.
Oh, that's the other problem. Okay, they call all our science pseudoscience, but then they use certain parts of that science to make their arguments, like the second law of thermodynamics.
Second law of thermodynamics, that's favorite. Yep.
Yeah, but they don't use the whole law. They just use the bit about the closed system,
right,
or isolated system, how
Isolated.
entropy works. But they don't understand that gravity is what causes our system to be closed to a point.
Nathan
So it
Oakley
doesn't-
could listen. Nathan Oakley could not define a closed system, an open system, and an isolated system if you held him at gunpoint. That he has absolutely no idea of what he's talking about when it comes to any of that. The guy,
because a closed system can transfer heat out of it.
It can transfer energy. Yes, you can have energy transfer, not matter. An open system transfers energy and matter. An isolated system is actually only theoretical. You can't
That
really
would be
have an
the
isolated
universe.
system. There's no way to stop energy transfer.
The entire
idea
universe
is isolated. It's theoretically isolated. It's
the universe is classified as a closed system, Sean.
I thought it was isolated.
No,
it's just expanding.
Okay, close. You're right.
Yeah.
My bad.
Hey,
See,
how do you know there's not?
I'm wrong all the time.
How do you know there's not something else pushing matter into our universe to help it expand?
Because the matter's here already.
Can I read a comment?
How do you know that?
I don't.
Can I read a comment
from? He's pushing it in.
I want to read this comment from Letting Harry before he goes away too far.
Right.
At Sean G, read this and tell me you are cool with drinking milk. The possible role of female sex hormones in milk from pregnant cows in the development of breast, ovarian, and corpus luteum.
Does he know that dairy cows aren't pregnant when they're producing the milk?
And also, I'm good.
And only 15% of the population can actually tolerate lactose?
Yeah, I eat it like cereal. I drink a little milk, maybe with coffee sometimes, every once in a while. I'm not too tolerant to milk, but I don't eat it. I don't care. I drink it.
I don't even remember the last time I drank a glass of milk.
Oh gosh, I just drank one an hour ago.
Huh? You would.
I just drank one an hour ago.
You would. That's weird.
Maybe with some
organic.
Oreos.
You have to have organic.
Yeah, I don't disagree with it. It's right.
The only thing I say about milk is if you're going to do milk, do it organic. It's far nicer.
If you're going to do milk, vitamin D. Don't go pussy water stuff.
What, you have to go up to the cow and suck it off its teeth? That's the only way you get it organically.
No
No
synthetic milk.
The problem with organic is, it's non-pasteurized is what it is.
Raw.
It doesn't last
long.
It's
still pasteurized.
And you can get
it lasts longer than regular milk.
Does it? As far as I know, it doesn't.
No. Organic milk is still pasteurized.
Well,
the organic status.
Milk, I thought it would be. I thought it was whether or not it was.
It's just the
raw milk.
Yeah,
raw milk.
The organic part comes from not giving the cows hormones.
That's it. They're not do hormones, and they're fed. They're
like
fed.
Grass fed.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Most of the smaller farms, all of their cows are all grass fed.
I prefer grass fed.
Okay, so
grass fed, not things organic. It's the system for certifying them, which means you're not allowed to use non-organic fertilizer, so you must use farmyard manure waste for fertilizing your field. and the feed stuffs that go into the meal must be organically sourced as well.
Do you know what tapioca is? You know, like that pudding tapioca. You heard of that, right?
Yeah.
If that has to do anything with lactose, then I might be lactose intolerant because every time I eat tapioca, I get the crapiocas.
What the hell is wrong with you and Unpaid today?
Unpaid.
Who, me?
What the fuck did I do?
Tastes like
Both
crapioca
have-
too.
You guys have made numerous poop jokes in the span of 45 minutes.
They're feeling very gassy today.
All I said was everybody poops. That's all I said.
Channel X saying it.
Sorry.
All I said was everybody poops because it was a common. Somebody mentioned something that was common to every human on the planet. So all I said was everybody poops.
Yeah, you said
define human.
All right.
I say when you eat tapioca, you get the crapioca.
Yeah, you kids cut out the poop jokes now. No more of that.
Citation, please, Shills.
No, God
Sorry,
damn it.
that's a Hughes Lines anyway reference.
Yeah. Okay. Anyway,
Oh hell, now we don't have anything to talk about. Shit.
I just drank a Soylent. I just drank a 400-calorie Soylent for dinner.
Soylent.
Yep.
I drank 4 cans of NOS energy drink today, and that has 56 milligrams, 56 grams of sugar each. Is that bad for me?
Yes.
No.
Yeah, it ain't really good for you, but
I
You
remember
also
you
smoke
said, give me
and
super
you
chats
drink
for
energy drinks.
and what did you say? Cigars?
And cigars.
Energy drinks are by far worse than those cigars.
Really?
Yeah, true that.
No,
Those
they're
things
not.
are. Oh, put it this way. You remember back in the day, you could take those. It's like a little mini bag of vitamins. I used to take those, and I used to take them for one reason.
The
and
Flintstones?
one reason, no.
Flintstones.
These are like usually like a Costco brand or something like that. But they're like a daily supplement of vitamins. And this most wonderful thing happens. And see, Unpaid Shills and Jose, this is why I hate you guys. The most wonderful thing in the world happens. Your pee turns neon fucking green.
Oh no, please.
Oh my god.
Yeah, the cocktail bag.
Oh
Yeah,
my
cocktail
god.
bag.
Yes.
Yeah.
Super
So?
neon. I'm not talking green. I'm not talking,
you're talking lightsaber green.
Yes, like some fucking alien shit, and it is
like
awesome.
fluorescent. Yeah, big time.
Yeah, no,
Fucking
I use it for practical jokes.
Yeah, ladies, I'm sorry if it doesn't work for you because you gotta like do the sitting thing. But for guys, holy crap, it will make your fucking day if you take those pills and take a piss.
I've gone off my lunch now.
Yeah, you just tell somebody, hey, there's this weird, Martian death flu going around. It'll like make your arms shrivel up and fall off, and your hair will fall out. One of the first symptoms is your urine turns green, and then a few
never
days.
thought about that.
A few days later, you slip it to them.
Who are you peeing in front of? That joke is okay.
But I never thought of that. Like when getting a new job, doing the drug test and stuff, you should get a bag of these little cocktail vitamins and just pee a neon bottle of pee or whatever, and just show it to them. They go like, "Here's toxic shit." They go like, "What?"
No, you didn't let me. You guys didn't let me finish what I was saying. I said you tell your friends about this flu that's going around, and then about 3 or 4 days later, you grind them up and you slip them into their drinks.
Oh yeah. Okay, I apologize. Oh man, built something.
So then, after you've told them about this, death flu that'll kill you on the spot, and the first symptom is your urine turns green. You do that to them, and then all of a sudden you hear a scream from the other room. You know the joke has been set.
Oh yeah. I don't know about you guys. I got a lot of Marine friends. If they did that shit, they may end up doing something stupid. So I don't play those games anymore.
Yeah, no, really.
But okay, guys.
Anyway,
we either got to put this back on route on the fuck. Oh Jesus Christ! I don't know.
Back on track, or let's get out of here.
I don't know whose fault it is, but someone derailed the shit out of this one.
Well, I think that was you, actually.
I think it was you, Channel.
Probably.
I think we should have a vote. Everyone in the chat, if it was Channel X, you press 1. Who derailed the show? And everyone's like,
Everyone's going to press one because everyone loves me so
no
much.
one's even listening. Trust me.
And if it was unpaid shills, press any other number, integer or otherwise.
If I was in Zoom, I'd be Captain Smegma anyway. So
Where's Farmers? I used to blame him all the time. Actually, they and them. This is for the first time. Channel X has not been triggered. I'm surprised as anybody.
I'm Mr. Big
Travis,
today.
do you want to get back in here so we can discuss how the mountain pictures are completely curvature evidence and how your atmospheric optics is atmospheric optics without explanation for any of the optics?
Find the Flat Earth is live right now. I could just go there.
I wouldn't give a shit less. Why would you? Don't say his fucking name on my channel. I'm not part of that group. I don't promote that shit talking crap.
Who did you say was triggered again, Sean?
I can trigger you in a half a second.
Oh no, he's got that.
But Chunji, where did it go wrong? Because you was in an interview with him. The interview an ex-Flat Earther.
Okay, so this is exactly why. Before anyone believes that I am talking behind his back, no, I've had 3 conversations with Fight the Flat Earth on that version of debunking Flat Earth. He had me on when he interviewed me. I just barely knew who he was, and it seemed like it was pretty cool. And the interview was actually great. I probably would say 80% of the subs I got after I left Flat Earth came because of that interview. So, I mean, props to him for that. Thank you. But here's the thing. I've expressed it to him many times. I said, if you're going to be disrespecting people, it's not going to last long. Do you think anyone's listening to you? Do you think anyone's going to take the information you have and give a fucks about it if you're calling them all fucking idiots? He expressed it like, I realize that. I'm going to start calming down. No, he didn't. That motherfucker just ramped it up.
He ramped it up.
I watched him. I watched them this morning.
So anyone who's like, Sean, you talk so much shit about him, blah, blah, blah. No. I've said everything I've said here to him privately.
Well, okay, so here's the thing.
Change it.
I think there are certain people like the entertainment of the dumpster fires that are typical Flat Earth shows. Okay, in here, though, Sean, I learned far more.
Yeah, you don't get that. The second disrespectful talks happens, all information doesn't matter. They can all sound like Charlie Brown's fucking teacher.
Yeah. Between you and Jose, I learn, particularly because you've got intelligent people in here. You've got Barney and you've got Davies and you've got also you've got Blue. You've got all sorts of people.
Thank you. Unpaid shills. You're just an unpaid shill.
Unpaid shit. Yeah, I'm trying to look down the list of people.
All right, fuck off then.
No, just not to. I don't want to butter. I'm not trying to butter anybody's bread. I'm just saying. In here,
I don't know. You just name dropped.
I learned something last night. Davies can attest to that. Davies can attest. I learned something last night.
But Chunji, you should try to attack Flat Earth. Kill it right now. Be funny. Insult them, and then you will get a shitload of subscribers and a lot of super chats.
No, don't do it, Sean, because it's not you.
No,
all right. This is what we're gonna do. For every $100 I get in super chat, I'm going to tell a flurfer to go fuck himself. Yeah, circle jerk. Oh wait, my bad.
Sean, think about this. We were talking about Nathan Oakley and thermodynamics, and then we segued onto milk.
Jesus. Okay, well, you know what?
Yeah, that was me. My bad.
No, we didn't.
The main point is no one disrespected anyone except we all disrespected Lenny because Lenny is a piece of shit. And I don't think he's a flat earther or a globe earther. I think he's a vegan.
If Sean G and Jose get $500 in super chats, then in the next 2 shows, then I will shave my ass with a cheese grater and upload the video.
What the fuck? Please don't. Never mind. Hey, Jose, we should turn our shit off.
Yeah, I'm out.
Hey,
Yeah, don't do any more shows for a while.
But no thanks. Did you just
Thanks
say
for the offer, but
cheesecake? Hang on,
keep your ass
stop,
ungrated.
Stop. Did you just say cheesecake?
Cheese grater.
Who are you
me?
whispering to? Yes.
I said
Yeah, I
cheese
said
grater.
I'd shave my ass with a cheese grater.
Not you. Damn it.
Yeah.
So what happened?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I'm not sure if anyone else is picking up on this, but every random moment I'll hear a whisper in the background whispering something said or someone said. So Unpaid said something about cheese, right? Cheese grater. And I hear Channel X whisper cheese something. I'm asking.
I said cheese.
Yeah, why are you? Yeah, but you've done that numerous times, and you don't. It's not just now. You always do this shit.
I know.
It's a subliminal message. He throw the subliminal shit.
Throw in the little subliminal things, and it's hilarious.
Sean is paranoid.
Earlier in the chat, I said Zenith rises to eye level several times, and one person caught it, but most people didn't.
Yeah,
that was during the seven people talking simultaneously for 45 minutes.
Crazy asshole. I heard that.
Oh, you know what really busts their chops?
It's the weirdest thing though, because he does this all. That's how I heard him eating the other day. Because it wasn't like he was like nom nom nom. He was just like in the background. You see her.
I thought I was being subtle.
Hell no.
I don't masticate very quietly.
It'd be subtle if first you muted when you were going. Then you go. You'd be like blah 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 blah
nom nom
blah 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 blah.
As subtle as a depleted uranium sledgehammer.
It just didn't matter to you. Like you weren't on fucking mic doing it.
Sean.
Oh gosh, this is why I'm here. It's so funny.
Channel X, you need to next time turn around and say that the tangent rises to eye level.
No, you need to say it. Fucking puff out your chest, put your head up, and say it. Stop that weird shit. Like it got to the point I was like, no more. Say something, Sean, because god damn it.
Hey, can I tell you something I watched earlier? I mentioned you the other day that I saw a preview of a documentary about Mad Mike and the rocket launch. I didn't know that was a thing. I watched it today. It was like an hour and 25 minutes, close to an hour and a half. And dude, I had fun, man. I watched it in one seat and I was loving it, bro. It's so real, so documenting his journey through building the rocket up to the launch. Bro, it was really good.
You are literally watching a man that's going to kill himself on TV.
Yeah, he is.
The documentary was awesome. He wasn't misrepresented. He was presented very raw, like the human being he is, and his thoughts and his real life. It was really good, man. I enjoyed it a lot. They did a good job with that.
Didn't the whole flat Earth aspect of it seem like an add-in?
Yeah. He was like, I start looking to this flat Earth, and he explained they didn't misrepresent him. He say, I do this just to raise awareness and maybe to try to get sponsors and money to in the future, then throw this big ass high with the balloon. And he explained, then that will prove something about flat Earth. Right now, no, I'm gonna put the stickers flat Earth, research flat Earth, but it has nothing to do with flat Earth. It's just I'm a daredevil and I do this shit for fun, pretty much. It was good, man. I loved it.
Is that Mad Mike?
Yeah,
that's Mad Mike Hughes.
Oh yeah, that guy's
crazy. It's called Rocket Man. It was funny because when he was scheduled to do the rocket launch, and he went inside and he like, fuck, I failed. He didn't release, he didn't take off. So 3 days after that, when they were doing the tweak, Elon Musk launched that big rocket with the Tesla car up, and then he became the new Rocket Man. It was good, man. They showed that little things in between. It was really good documentary. Well
you see Mad Mike's little rocket, and then you see a Falcon Heavy launching a car into space.
Yeah, man, that's crazy. I go like, oh no, Mad Mike like, oh well, fuck it, I'll still do my shit,
What was that? What was that phrase? It was Mad Mike Hughes, going where anybody who has access to a Cessna has gone before.
He actually has an engineer building his next rocket.
Oh.
A rocket engineer.
Yeah.
Or supposed.
Oh, okay, that's funny. Well,
Oh.
he is going to kill himself.
If all else fails, hire a rocket surgeon. They'll get the job done.
Yes.
But you remember his first rocket was steam powered?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
technically it's not a rocket.
No.
Because it
That's
doesn't use self propulsion.
Well, the question then would be, did it have big paddle wheels on either side?
Yeah, but
It was
dude,
the
you gotta
Queen
watch
Mary.
it
But that's the
because in
same
this
thing.
documentary, when he did the launch, they show the whole thing, like the inside camera, you know, on him on the rocket, and you feel the I was engaged emotionally. I go like, holy shit, he's gonna get hurt, he's gonna die, even though we know the outcome and how we go. But you see the perspective that you didn't see before. He had a camera inside, and it was really good. The video, and they the documentary team that recorded him, they had some drones and stuff when they were setting up the rocket launch. They had some beautiful shots of the desert and the lifting of the rocket. It was well done, bro. I loved it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the
Yeah,
same
Mad
thing.
Mike going where any
Knievel
drone
tried to
has
use.
gone.
Yeah. Anyone see the film Viva Knievel? It was brilliant. Well, when you were 12, it was brilliant.
Yeah, he used a steam-powered rocket when he tried that Snake River jump or whatever it was.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Huh?
That dude broke everything.
Evil Knievel.
Mad Mike, yeah. He hit hard. He hit hard when he threw that little rocket launch 1,900 feet into the air, you know. He hit really hard, but he didn't break anything. He just got hurt and beat up, but he was alright, yeah.
He was beat up, yeah.
Shit, at 1,900 feet, you're barely above pattern altitude.
Yeah, what's the minimum height for a parachute?
Huh?
No. What's the minimum distance before you hit the ground that you're allowed to pull your chute?
A few thousand feet. 3,000-4,000.
Yeah. 2,000.
Oh, so he was 100 feet short of the actual limit for parachute.
When he reached the peak up and they start just going down, he pulled the main parachute, and he was going down, and they were telling him in the radio, like, pull the second parachute, and he just pulled it. He barely opened when he hit the ground, you know. So he just get off. That's why he got hit so hard.
He is
just
mad.
One parachute when he had to. Yeah.
Okay, I just looked it up, and the minimum recommended altitude above ground level for parachutes is 2,000 feet if you're an expert, 2,500 otherwise.
So he was a little bit short to be able to land safely.
And you should, bro, dude, you should see him inside that little capsule he was in. He got, like, you know what, the cushions for your sofa? It's like he ripped it open and he put like some pieces next to his shoulders and his belly and stuff. He like shuffles some of the stuff around him. Hilarious. Not at all. Yeah.
He was looking up.
What the hell are you going to see from 1,900 feet?
Flat?
Yeah.
He was not looking up. His head was firmly between his ass cheeks, kissing it goodbye.
Well, you'll.
Yeah, but what he's doing now.
I think he was the first one in doing a jump on a limousine, using a limousine. I think he's like the first one that did it. So yeah, he's all right.
But what he's doing now is what, like, rocket manufacturer was doing back in the 1950s. So he's sort of 70 years behind the curve.
Ooh.
Why? What's wrong, Sean?
Hardy har.
Ah, he's making noise. We need to cover his noises.
Bacon.
Bacon. Then, where's my bacon?
Still waiting on the triplicate of the triplicate.
I did. I sent it. I'm sure I did, but you have to wait. The pigeons aren't flying in the right direction at the moment.
The courier force is taking them offline.
What? You waited long enough. What? Oh, I'm fantastic. I mean, you can go and watch my show that I did yesterday. You can see everything that I have to say about it. Because I wasn't able to look at the pictures while I was driving, so I had to pull them back up and look at them when I could take some more time to go through it. Yeah, sure, I don't mind. Yeah.
I'm gonna send you a few pictures of the lighthouse, Travis, so you can talk to Sean about it, maybe.
Okay. I mean, you know, we need to have some semblance of self-control and whatnot, but I don't mind it being an open panel. That's fine.
I like that.
Because you can.
Travis, permission to use a segment of me on your show yesterday.
Yeah, you don't
on my
have to
show.
ask. That's fine.
Thank you, bro.
Sure, sure.
Yeah, I don't know. Just kind of floating along, going with the flow. That's about it. Had a good time. That's all.
They cannot hear you, Seanji, and the YouTube. That's what Trish Blight says right now.
Jeez. I don't even remember when I muted it, so I have no idea what they heard and didn't hear. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter anymore. I'm just kidding. It does. All right.
I got to get out of here. Thank you, Seanji. Thank you, everybody.
Say
I'll
what
see
you
you
gotta
later.
say, man. No, just leave.
See ya,
You gotta
Ozzie.
Yeah,
fucking
no.
say your last words.
I appreciate it.
No,
Thank you for the
never mind,
platform.
never
I'm
mind.
out of here.
Bye. Bye. Get the fuck out of here. All right. Channel X.
Yes, sir. I would just like to say that I like baked beans on toast.
You're an asshole. Digital demonic.
This one was better than yesterday because no one was arguing a point. There was a few whinges, but we get that every show. So
Yeah.
it's good to be here.
Yeah, I think it was Travis's fault though, because Travis jinxed me in the beginning, and then I think in doing so he brought Aaron, who Aaroned the panel.
Yeah. Yeah, Aaron the panel. That's a new one.
Let me see. Big Blue.
Thanks for the platform, Sean. You guys be sure to drop by my channel. Take a look. Got some new stuff up. There'll be more coming out soon.
Awesome. And the wonderful little bot that is bot command that is in that little stream that keeps scrolling across your guys' screen. If you type in Big Blue, his YouTube channel will pop up for you guys. That way, you guys don't have to go searching through. And my stream bot is acting all right. There, it should be popping. There it is. So yeah, go check out Big Blue. Wonderful uploads. Very, very informal. Thank you, Blue. I do appreciate it, man.
Thanks, Sean.
Actually, I'm gonna message you on Jesus Christ, on the from where the bunker is. I have an idea of a topic that I need your information for.
Oh, okay.
I'll keep you informed.
That'll work.
All right, sir. Thank you again.
Yeah, thanks, buddy.
Erebus, you there? Fine then. I work on his fire model. What? I think he said he was at work. Did he say that? Pretty sure he did. John?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah, sorry. I was over in the chat for a second. Yeah, it was a great hangout. I laughed. I had my microphone muted, but I was giggling right along with some of the jokes and everything. But yeah, it was a great night. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir. They and them.
Hey, thanks for the nice chilled hangout. Definitely looking forward to Rumpus v Barney round 2.
Yes. I'm gonna actually email them tonight, so or message them tonight. So we'll see what happens. Plain truth. Travis.
Only thing I gotta say is,
Oh yeah. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. So those of you who didn't hear me because I had my mic muted like a genius, tomorrow I want to go over those images that we looked at with the mountains that Travis had issues with. Go check out Travis's channel. He did a live stream last night and he went over it. I was supposed to be there. He gave me a link and everything, so it wasn't like he was doing it behind my back. He invited me and everything. I just had something I had to do, so I couldn't get there. But I do appreciate the invitation while you were doing that, Travis. But tomorrow, if time prevails and he's around and I'm free to do it, I'm gonna live stream. When I do live stream, I'm gonna have Travis come on. We're gonna go ahead and go back over those observations and go over his stream because I didn't get to watch all of it, so I kind of want to watch the rest of it and then go through it and break it down tomorrow. And Travis will join me, and we're gonna keep it a light panel. That is what I said when I was muted. Travis said he doesn't care if it's light or open. But we all don't want to have interruptions and shit show, so we'll probably start off that way. But other than that, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. Travis, thank you. Everyone else on the panel, thank you guys. I do appreciate it. But yeah, it's one of those nights. Time to say goodbye. I'm gonna keep this meet up open, and then if you guys want in here, I'll put the link in the chat, and whoever's left, maybe we'll have a conversation with them. Maybe not. Sometimes they're here, sometimes they're not. As a matter of fact, me and Big Blue were in a hangout for like 14 hours, I think, the other day. And I don't think neither one of us even realized it. But other than that, guys, I'm gonna get out of here. Peace.
Anybody home?
easy to